What's up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you back on the channel. Before we get started, if you guys are not subscribed, please consider doing so. We put out great content on a week-to-week basis consistently and have done so for 2 years, and I'd highly recommend you join us for the ride. On today's episode, we'll be looking at a quintessential menswear piece, the suit jacket. This will be a beginner's crash course on the suit jacket and will give you pretty much everything you need to know for those of you who don't have too much knowledge on anything that has to do with fashion. So this is for the everyman. We're not going to go into any unnecessary details, and we're going to leave out all of the fluff that you might see on other fashion focused channels. We'll be looking at the key details of the suit jacket anatomy, basically helping you outline the entire composition of a traditional jacket, and we'll be giving you the core components of any jacket so that you're never left feeling clueless the next time you need to pick up a jacket for a formal event or any other specific occasion. Whether you're an experienced veteran in the fashion industry or someone who's just getting into menswear, this episode is going to have something for you. Hey guys, and welcome to Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you here. On this channel, we discuss all things sports fashion, graphic design, manufacturing, and technology. We'll discuss key topics, answer pressing questions, and provide actionable steps on starting your own product line. If you're interested in any of the above topics, stick around. You're in for a good one. So let's get right into it. And I'll pick up the specimen that we're going to be using for today's episode. It's nothing special, and chances are you've seen a jacket that looks exactly like this. This is an off-the-rack Zara jacket, and it's basically most people's beginner suit jackets. We'll go through everything you need to know, and we'll start off with the core essentials. When it comes to suit jackets, you pretty much have two key types of jackets. You have the single-breasted jacket, which is what you see here, and you also have the double-breasted jacket. When it comes to a single-breasted jacket, this, again, they call it single because you have one column of buttons that you actually button up. And with a double-breasted jacket, you have two columns of buttons that you button up. Well, we'll get to that in a second, but with your single-breasted jacket, you have two key variants of that jacket. You have the 2-button jacket. Again, there's 2 buttons that you see here, and you have the 3-button jacket. With a 2-button jacket, you pretty much only ever button up the top button. And with a 3-button jacket, it depends on the style of jacket, but you only button one button. It's typically the middle button. It can be the top button depending on the specific 3-button jacket you're getting. Again, this world is extremely nuanced and has a lot of variety, but I'm trying to keep it very basic for you. And on the double-breasted jacket variant, in terms of the types of variants that you typically see, you have a 6x2 or a 6x1 or a 4x1 or a 4x2. Well, what do these two numbers represent? Let's take the 6x2 for example. The 6, aka the first number in that sequence, represents the buttons that are visually present on the center front of the jacket. On a 6x2 button jacket, you'll see 6 buttons in the front. The second number refers to the buttons on that jacket that you actually button up. So on a 6x2, you'd essentially button the 2 top outermost buttons. And of course, when I say outermost, I mean the outermost, the ones that are closing. Obviously, on a double-breasted jacket, some of them will have an anchor button on the inside, which you don't see, that holds the jacket together. But that's essentially what that number refers to. We'll be focusing our attention primarily on the single-breasted jacket variant, as chances are this is the one that you're going to see most commonly in your day-to-day activities. This is a very traditional 2-button single-breasted jacket, and when it comes to the anatomy, we'll start from the top to the bottom. So on the back, we see this portion, essentially, it's called the collar stand. This entire piece right here, which is one of the most characteristic pieces of any suit, is called the lapel. And again, lapels are extremely nuanced, and there are a ton of different lapels out there that can completely change the aesthetic and mood of any jacket. This is what is known as the gorge. The gorge again will have a huge impact on the final look of the actual lapel. Moving in, where the top buttons and the collar spreads, with the lapel spreads, this is what is considered as the break point. Moving down, essentially we'll have our welted breast pocket. You typically put a pocket square in there, and again, it's a very formal detail that's meant to enhance the look and feel of the jacket. Moving down, you'll have what is known as these side flap pockets. Again, these are jetted pockets with flaps. There are a ton of different pockets, and they all change the look and feel of the actual jacket. On the back, we have what is known as, again, our center back seam. And again, on a beautifully tailored jacket, this will perfectly match the curve of your spine. It will really enhance the look and feel of the garment, making sure that there are no excess fabric parts and everything just flows and feels like a second skin to you, which is funny because a lot of people have horrible experiences with jackets. This does not come from the jacket itself. It comes from the fit of the jacket. A jacket should never feel like a hindrance to you. It should almost feel like a part of your body. That's very romantic, but that's actually how a jacket should fit. Moving down, you have what are known as the vents. Here we have these two side vents, and then you have what is known as a single center vent. Next, we have one of the key parts of any jacket, the shoulder line. And the reason I say that it's a key part of any jacket is when it comes to picking an off-the-rack jacket, so something you buy in store, you can pretty much tailor most of the different parts of the jacket. You can reduce the width of the chest. You can reduce the length of the sleeve. You can reduce the length of the actual jacket. But pretty much the one part that universally is almost impossible to alter once it's been fitted is going to be the shoulder. So if you're gonna make sure that you get anything right with an off-the-rack jacket, make sure that the shoulders fit perfectly. Then you can get the other adjustments made. And when it comes to the actual shoulder types that you see in everyday suits, there are a ton to go through, but we'll focus on the main three. The first one is going to be what is known as a normal or a soft shoulder. This is a non-padded shoulder that essentially fits exactly how you'd expect a suit jacket to fit. It slopes with the natural shape of your shoulder line, and it doesn't really add too much bulk, nor does it actually create too much of a dropped effect. It's just right. This is one of the most common types of shoulders, and I highly recommend it. The second type is going to be your rope shoulder. So this is going to be a little bit stronger. It's going to be more padded than a natural shoulder line, and it's going to give you a little bit more presence. This is extremely important when it comes to a suit that's more intended for business purposes, where you want to create a bit more of a structured look to the garment. And the last one is going to be one of the most beautiful shoulder types, and one that really requires a lot of expertise and a lot of craftsmanship. This is what is known as the Neapolitan shoulder. Obviously, it originates in Italy, specifically in Napoli, and it's characterized by just the right amount of puckering at the top of the shoulder. This gives the garment a lot of presence, it gives the wearer a lot of width, it structures the shoulders, and it adds a lot of flair to a very, very classy garment. When it comes to lapels, again, there are a ton of different options for you to pick up. So as to not overwhelm you, we'll focus on the key three. And lapels are extremely important because they're actually one of the most visually represented parts of any menswear suit. So picking the right lapel for the right suit is going to be extremely important. You have one of the most common types of lapels, and this is what is known as a notched lapel. This specific jacket has a notched lapel, and essentially it's characterized by a straight line gorge. So the gorge line is straight and it angles downwards. Typically, these types of lapels are also characterized by being a little bit more slender than some of the other lapel types that we're going to be discussing. The second type of lapel is what is known as a peaked lapel. The peaked lapel is a bit more formal, it's a bit more sturdy, and you typically see it on double-breasted jackets, but it can definitely be seen on more business-oriented suits. With a peaked lapel, the gorge line is not a single line, it's essentially notched and peaks upwards. This gives the wearer a little bit more of a presence and a little bit more of a masculine look to it. The last one is going to be a specific type of lapel that you pretty much only see on evening suits. So black tie events, tuxedos, you're going to see what is known as a shawl lapel. A shawl lapel is a single piece. It has pretty much no gorge at all, and it flows from the break point all the way around to the collar stand, and that is what is known as a shawl lapel. We can't speak about any jacket without addressing pockets. At the end of the day, pockets bring functionality and versatility to the garment. With your pockets on your suit jackets, there are a ton of options to pick from. But again, we're going to focus on the key 4 ones that you're going to want to consider. The first one is going to be the welt pocket. So this is essentially a welt pocket, and it's characterized by a welted pocket flap that covers or that forms the entrance of the pocket. The second one is going to be your jetted pocket with a flap. So you'll see here the jetted pocket, and then you have a flap that helps to streamline and keep everything kind of well put together. And you also have the jetted pocket without the flap. So it's essentially this pocket without a flap. And the last one is going to be your patch pocket. Essentially, this is exactly what it sounds like. You take a patch of fabric and stitch it over the surface of the jacket. This is an extremely casual look, and I wouldn't recommend it on a jacket that you're getting for the first time. So if you don't have too many jackets in your wardrobe, definitely stay away from a flat or a patch pocket. This is just because you can't dress it up as much as you can dress it down, and it tends to work better on sports style jackets. Now let's look at the key component of any suit jacket, the material. This is what forms the construction. This is what gives the jacket its true character when it's worn. And when it comes to the key types of suit fabrics, wool is going to be king. Pretty much it is the most versatile and widely used fabrics for suit making, and it's a type of fabric that can either be made thicker and more warm, or it can be made more lightweight and more breathable. So it has a lot of variety and versatility in that case. When it comes to measuring the fineness of a wool fabric, you'll notice that the textile manufacturers will use what are known as super numbers. And this essentially has to do with how densely a fabric is woven. A super 130 fabric is going to be more densely woven than a super 110. There's a caveat to this. These numbers only correlate within the textile manufacturers themselves. So if a textile manufacturer A has a super 130, this doesn't mean that it's going to be a finer fabric than a manufacturer B's super 110. Just keep that in mind. So let's also switch gears. If you're trying to go for a more casual vibe for your suit, or something that's more suited towards the summer months, cotton or even linen might be great options for you. If you want something that's a little bit more high end, especially in the touch and feel department, maybe cashmere or even silk, if that's what you're going for. And then lastly, if you're going for something extremely ostentatious, or if the occasion calls for it, you can even go for a velvet suit. Well, that is pretty much it, guys. That is a wrap on this episode. Hopefully you have a much better understanding of the men's suit jacket, and you can keep up with the best of them when it comes to what a suit's anatomy looks like, what are the main fabrics of a suit, the different shoulder lines, lapel lines, pockets, the different types of suits, single-breasted, double-breasted. You should be able to list all of it. This is a little bit different than our traditional sportswear topics, and if you guys enjoyed it, show us some love. Let us know in the comments below. Smash a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you have not done so already, and also let us know what other similar topics you want to see in the future if you do want to see us talk about some more fashion-focused topics. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fittdesign TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.